The fascia is the structure that no one understands or talks about, which answers all of the impossibilities, the contradictions, the little unknowns within the health, wellness, and beauty space. It's the structure that provides the key to the door that no one ever even noticed. It's linked within every process. It defines beauty, it defines movement, it defines the way we feel and the way we develop. And I think it's completely misunderstood, misrepresented, and under-talked about. So here is my interpretation of the fascia. I'm not claiming to know everything, but we do have thousands of real transformations now, including my own from this to this, including my 59-year-old mother's. So without further ado, let's break down how the fascia works, how we can use it to restore natural beauty, to feel better, look better, and become the best versions of ourselves in every aspect at any age. Firstly, I'd like to break down how the fascia is hydrated. This is the key concept. If you want to visualize the fascia, the way I would perceive it is like a spider web that runs throughout the entire body, except the little lines within the web aren't just thin strings. They're this gel-like structure bound to other substances like collagen and elastin within the body. I mean, think about it. We're roughly 65 to 70% water, and yet this isn't just flowing through our bodies like a well or an ocean. It's structured, it's bound to substances, including, quite significantly I might add, the fascia. So it's this substance that runs throughout the entire body, that wraps around muscles and tendons, and also allows things to flow within the body. It allows circulation. It's interlinked with all of these processes. Every time we move, in order for us to glide, the reason we even find movement so beautiful is because the fascia is allowing it to do so. Equally, it should also be recognized before we get into some more applicable and actionable details that the fascia is deeply integrated within the nervous system. It has roughly 6 times the amount of sensory receptors as muscle tissue, and so a lot of input to the nervous system is facilitated through the fascia. Some people perceive it as the barrier between the physical and the mental, which is a really interesting way of viewing it, and I think the understanding of that concept will become very clear as I keep talking or waffling on, so stay with me. Now, that wasn't the most perfect explanation, but you're beginning to understand the gist, and for reference, the fascia weighs around 22 kg, so this isn't just a tiny little structure. This is 25%, maybe more, maybe a bit less, depending on the person. It is massive, it is huge, and it's something that I guarantee no one has been taught as a child. No one's understood this. We all know what muscles are, we all know what the brain is or what every organ's name is, and yet no one talks about or has heard the word fascia up until recently, which is absolute insanity, and I'm not gonna poke that path any further, but it's absolutely ridiculous. If 22 kg of the body is misunderstood and misrepresented, and previously it was just viewed as a wrapping tissue, we didn't even recognize it was interconnected with our nervous system. If it's misunderstood and it is a significant part of the body, how does that change the way that we understand how we develop, how we move, how we age, how we look, how we breathe, how we feel? All of these key fundamental factors for life in general, and many of the root causes of many modern day issues can potentially be solved by just adding this into the equation. It's like if maths was incorrect the entire time. Imagine 0 was actually valued at 1. Every equation would be off by 1, or maybe more. You know, I'm not pretending to be an absolute mathematician wizard, but maybe I'm a fascia wizard, you know, but let's keep cracking on. Now, I'd like to explain in a bit more of a practical, sustained approach, the 4 ways the fascia is hydrated, because as I said before, it's this gel-like substance, or at least that's how it's perceived to be. So it becomes hydrated or dehydrated. If it's stressed and tight, you can imagine what happens to it. It's dehydrated, it gets all mangled and mungled up. What we want it to be is hydrated as flowing. This same picture I said about movement being beautiful, just as faces can be attractive or unattractive, not because of superficial features or keeping up with societal standards, but because all of these things are an indication of health. When we move properly and we move in the correct patterns, we find it beautiful and we find it attractive because it's natural to us. Remember, the only reason we find things attractive are because they're healthy. We're animals, biologically hardwired to pick the healthiest mate. Wide cheekbones aren't just randomly, desired. If you have a wider palate, if you breathe better, you live longer. And when your palate's wider, your cheekbones come up and out because the maxilla is linked to the zygomatic bone. And I know that's complicated, but it's important to have that as the baseline logic throughout. You don't need to trust me, you don't need to trust anyone else. You need to trust your intuition. And that's the key. What I'll also explain later on in this is this kind of gut instinct is real. And that's also interlinked with the fascia. So when I say it's everything, and this video, the title may or may not be, I'm kind of deciding on it, the only video you ever need to watch on fascia. It definitely isn't. That was definitely an exaggeration. I won't exaggerate anything else, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so the 4 ways fascia is hydrated. are through breathing, movement, sunlight, and diet. And I'm not going to get into the depths and the weeds of each topic, but I will explain the gist of it all, and it should be quite logical. And then I'm going to explain how each can be utilized to, again, link back to this thing, which is health as looks. I think the most important understanding of it all, because it may be superficial to some, but I think it's the most important thing to understand. If you truly want to be healthy, you need to tackle that connection. Health is looks. The number one indicator of health, I firmly believe, is how attractive we are. It's the most biologically hardwired indication. You don't need to look at blood work and specific statistics to know if someone's healthy. And obviously there can be exceptions. Obviously someone can develop well and have issues later on. There's a general gist. Health and appearance and the way we perceive these things is the best indicator. It's the same concept as I believe, and I tell my mum, you're only as old as you look. And honestly, I think that's quite a lot more correct than people realize. If we function well, if we are healthy, if we have the inputs and we move a certain way that doesn't correspond to the actual age we have on paper, then why does this age even matter? You are only as old as you look. It's as simple as that. So we have these 4 different ways of hydrating the fascia. Let's break down the first one, which is the breath. Okay, so we breathe 20,000 times per day, give or take. You're doing it right now. It's what pumps and sustains the entirety of life in existence. If we stop breathing, we aren't living, to be quite frank. And equally, I think I want to break this down into 2 or 3 important concepts. I haven't planned any of this video out, by the way. This is just me spewing out information, so mind the lack of structure. The fascia itself should 100% be structured, but this presentation might not be as so. But nonetheless, we move. The first point I'd like to talk about is the less you breathe, the longer you live. A slightly controversial topic, but it shouldn't be. And obviously there's a lot of nuance to this, and I'm not going to waffle on for 2 hours about the nuance to this, but I think as a general rule of thumb, it's an interesting way to think about things. Breathing should be efficient. It should be natural, it should be easy, it should be simple. We should be doing it constantly, we shouldn't have to think about it, we shouldn't be limited. It should be through our nose, which is more efficient, which increases nitric oxide uptake, and we shouldn't be stressed. What's the first thing that happens when we're stressed? And stress is the root of all evil, by the way. I don't care about diet or movement or sunlight or anything. If you're stressed and if you're experientially viewing the world in that way and you're becoming that, then no matter how healthy you are, no matter how great your inputs, it gets stored within your body and it shapes you. And again, I'll explain this, and maybe that's a whole separate video, but with the breath, we need to understand the basics. We should be breathing through our nose because this allows increased nitric oxide, and most importantly, we should also be breathing backwards into the nose. This is a massive misunderstanding that people don't push enough. Most people, when they breathe through the nose, if I tell you to do it right now, let's do it all together. What are you gonna do? You breathe up, your chest comes out, and you try and reset your posture in some weird way. You breathe the air up into your head, because when we view the nose, we just view it as like a line. We don't understand the structure behind it, and that changes the way we visualize things. When we become out of touch and we're taught these misrepresentations, we visualize the body incorrectly, and we become out of touch with the structure from which life arises, which is a completely mental concept, to be honest. So we should be breathing backwards into the nose. We have these little filters called nasal turbinates within the nose, which filter the air, and they're arranged horizontally. And so if we don't breathe backwards into the face, we don't filter the air properly, nitric oxide isn't increased, and nitric oxide allows better circulation, allows better blood flow, and it supercharges the entire system. Everything becomes more efficient at this point. The breath is what pumps the entire body, and we need to be breathing through the nose and backwards. Obviously there are exceptions. If you're on an all-out sprint or you're running away from a gazelle, then maybe you're running after the gazelle. That's what I would be doing. You would be breathing through your mouth a tiny bit because you want it to be as efficient as possible. And that's a natural stress state, because we should have slight ups and downs. It shouldn't be just complete calmness forever, because then there's no baseline. Without happiness or without sadness, there's no happiness, etc., etc. But that's the basics of breath. Equally, you need to understand that the breath integrates every system. When we breathe, our psoas, our rib cage, our tongue, our fascia is shifting and changing around the breath. It's being hydrated by it. And so if we're not breathing efficiently, the structure becomes tighter. We can imagine this right now. If we breathe in a super shallow pattern, our posture literally shifts. We hunch over and the rib cage doesn't expand. From this position, it changes the structure, because if the rib cage doesn't expand, the thoracic fascia doesn't glide, the cervical fascia doesn't release, and when the cervical fascia doesn't release, the tongue doesn't rest on the roof of the mouth. And this is the base of all beauty. And again, this will be a separate video, but the tongue resting on the roof of the mouth is so much more important than anyone can comprehend. It's the most important structure in the body, in my opinion. Again, I should say, that is just my opinion, but I think I'm right. So the tongue being on the roof of the mouth is the root of all facial development. It's what develops the maxilla upwards and forwards, and the maxilla, which is the bone in the middle of your face, is what shapes the rest of your face. And so the tongue also links the fascia. And you can imagine that the breath shapes all of these structures. The fascia gets tighter, the tongue falls off the roof of the mouth, the head drops forward, the body tries to stabilize, and the posture shifts, because again, your head weighs something. So if it shifts forward, it's like a seesaw. Your pelvis tips forward, your feet fall out, your structure collapses around one thing moving. And this is the thing that's important to understand. It's all interconnected. It's like a it's like a puppeteer, you know? You can't just, I don't know what analogy I'm talking about there, but it is all connected, and the fascia is what connects it all. So the breathing integrates all of these different mechanics. Breathe into the nose, breathe backwards, try and allow the rib cage to expand, try and keep proper posture because that allows better breath. So spend as much time on the ground as you can. Don't fall for the trap of comfort that actually causes pain. Soft mattresses, fluffy chairs, etc., etc. They may feel temporarily relaxing and feel like you're operating on a cloud, but trust me, you can't sit on a cloud. You'll just fall straight through. It's the same concept here. Eventually, you're gonna fall straight through and your muscles can't actually relax, your skeleton can't relax, your body has to constantly stabilize, the fascia becomes dehydrated because it's not moving and it's not mobile, which moves on to the second pillar, which is movement. Movement is what allows the fascia to glide, and that's what you want in between all of these tissues and things. You want it all gliding, you want it all mobile, and that's a really important concept to understand. Over time, we can think about it like this. What are the natural things that happen as people age? They develop pain, they develop worse posture, the palate becomes a bit narrow and their teeth become crowded, they develop wrinkles maybe, they can't run as fast, or these kinds of things. What is the key to all of that? It's movement. It's the way we hold our bodies and the way our bodies shape everything. And obviously aging is natural, but the way people are aging in the modern world isn't. And that's what I've really explained to my mum, and we're going to be doing a video together very soon so she can explain it, because maybe it's not quite as apropos if I do it. Maybe it doesn't resonate as much, but I can say it with a lot of conviction. Over time, we lose the elasticity within the fascia because of lack of movement, and elasticity is what keeps us youthful. It's like a spring. So when we bounce, when we move, we maintain elasticity throughout the structure, and this elasticity is what keeps the skin plump and youthful, quite literally, because if the fascia isn't hydrated, if it isn't elastic, then the skin literally begins to drag and droop down. The tension and the way it's distributed shifts, meaning that wrinkles form prematurely for too many people and movement collapses. And when one thing in the body shifts, if I tell you to raise your right shoulder right now, what happens to your left hip? What happens to the left side of your body? If you really want to move up and down, if you want to move your right arm all the way out, the other side of your body is also shifting. If you move one part of the body, the rest of it has to adapt and shift. And so the moment one part collapses, that's going to create a massive domino effect of everything else falling behind. And so the key is maintaining elasticity. The key is in maintaining movement and the basic principles of movement. And I'll probably do longer videos on all of these concepts. And I should say that if you really feel slightly overwhelmed by this information, or you want to utilize it, but you don't know how, or you want more customization, you want more accountability, you don't want to just watch this video and then never take action on it and go about your life, because this is, I believe, quite firmly the key to life. You can see my transformation. I can say this with complete conviction. I've changed my mother, my sister, thousands of people now within the community. We now even have the largest health-based paid community within the world. And I firmly believe that this is the best place in the world. It's full of thousands of like-minded people, all operating on the same frequency, with the same goals, from a place not of superficial insecurity, but of becoming the best versions of themselves. We have routines, we have live calls within the place, we have masterclass calls, we have so much, and it's so powerful. And I really urge everyone to join. If you find this interesting, then you'll just be absolutely mind blown by how it feels when you're actually doing it. Not just when you're consuming and listening to the information, which is obviously important to have conviction and understanding of it, and to take the practical approach of processing the thoughts, allowing your speech to change, allowing your actions to change, and then to perform the information. However, it is just a completely different level when you're moving the right way, when you're doing the right things. It is incomparable. It is brilliant. So with movement, the basics I would say are there is a natural pattern, and you'll see this spiral format throughout the entirety of the world. You'll see babies crawl in this pattern. You'll see shells in nature made in this way. You'll see galaxies formed here. You'll see the little, hairs shaped in this spiral pattern. It runs throughout our body. It runs throughout the entire world and universe. I think it's really important to understand it from that perspective. So you want to maintain this spiral. You want to maintain this elasticity. And so it's not just about moving. It's about moving in the correct ways and working with the body. And the unfortunate problem with many people in the modern world and the way that we're focused is we're optimized on building muscle. We're optimizing for fixing symptomatic issues. So if someone has knee pain, then they'll focus on the knee, or they'll focus on positions to heal the knee, rather than realizing that any place you feel pain or discomfort, or any part of the body you feel that's lagging behind the others, the pain doesn't start there. The fascia runs throughout the entire body. It's starting in a different point, and it's manifesting in the point where you feel it. It's not actually starting in that place, and therefore you need to tackle the root cause. Babies crawl in this pattern, heels are flicking away, feet are in, hands are moving like this. It's all throughout nature. I'm not saying we need to move like a polar bear, but every animal has this kind of natural spiral within it. Even though we're made to walk on two legs, you'll see if you look at a model walking on a runway, they still have the same pattern and spiral. The feet remain straight, the heel then flicks away, comes back around, feet straight, literally like an animal crawling. And so we need to maintain this spiral throughout because this is ingrained within the fascia. And the key within all of this is movement and understanding the body correctly. And that's the most powerful thing I can give to any of you, is understanding that proper posture doesn't look like a pencil. That's not how we're meant to be or act. We're not meant to be completely straight. That's not how the body works. It works in spirals. Our feet are meant to be straight, knees slightly bent, hips slightly back, tail back, crown forward, spine has a natural curve to it. We're meant to breathe backwards. Our rib cage meant to expand. We're meant to have, and be able to retract our fingers and toes. These things are natural, and they would allow this elasticity, this spiral, this movement, that would allow the fascia to do what it does, to operate properly, to remain youthful, to remain elastic, to have proper tensioning. And so the key is understanding that, understanding what proper movement looks like, allowing the body to move while keeping the head straight, learning to get the heel flicking away, learning to activate the tendon on the top of your foot, which allows proper dorsiflexion, which prevents the knees from caving in. And the easy practical steps I would give to anyone, if you're new to all of this, or even if you're the most experienced person in the world, I would say firstly, connect the body to the face. So any movement you do within the body will also need to keep your tongue on the roof of the mouth, will also need to allow the face to be involved. The face may seem insignificant, but it's the most important part of your body. Your palate is a direct gateway to your breath. Your breath, as we mentioned, is what hydrates the fascia. And so if you're doing any movement right now and you have disconnections within the body, you need to integrate the face. And that's my slight qualm or issue with many people online. Some people may be focused on just the knee. Many people may even integrate now the feet all the way up to the shoulders, but no one takes it a step further to the tongue or to the palate. This is the key to it all. That's how you prevent relapse. That's how you have loads more energy. That's how you feel better. That's how you look better while also moving better. And so I'd really take that principle in mind. You can see videos of me here where I'm moving my body, but also I've got my thumbs in my mouth and I'm providing pressure to my palate. And this is a massively key breakthrough, I think, in my journey, in many people's journeys. And that's why I believe that the face is the most important gateway to everything. That's what we push within the community. That's why things like thumb pulling, that's why things like tongue posture, that's why things like breathing backwards. These are the foundational steps. If you really want to nail everything, that's how you should start. That's the entry point. That's the first, little lock on the door that I mentioned previously, the sacred door. And again, that's why I think that everyone needs to follow the routines within the community as soon as possible. Again, here are even more transformations on the screen. It's mind-blowing what we're truly capable of. So that's the basics with movement. Equally, I think jumping, I think hopping, I think allowing the lymph to flow. These things are fundamental. Don't just train in isolated movements. You can train better patterns. So you can sit on the floor in things like Seiza position, but you shouldn't just sit in the right way or sleep in the right way. You need to move, you need to express your energy. Initially, for many people, the things that are the most natural should be the best. If you just go on the floor and move around on the floor with however you want, you can dance, you can roll, you can do whatever you like, you can just slightly move. That is a great way of activating and releasing the fascia. That's the original fascia release. And then after that, you can take it a step further by rolling out the body with a ball, learning the proper patterns. You can sprint barefoot, you can crawl, you can do all of these things to relearn the spiral. And I won't get too into it, but movement's the second part that hydrates the fascia, that allows it to glide, which maintains the beautiful structure within the body, allowing us to have proper posture. When we have proper posture, the neck supports the head comes forward, the tongue rests on the roof of the mouth, the face shifts upwards and forwards, and equally, the muscles actually activate when we have proper fascial tensioning. So if we look at people that are able to put on muscle easily for men, or equally, even for women, if we look at people that are naturally toned, regardless of calories or diet or these things, which are obviously real and important, but they're limited, the fascia wraps around these structures. And so the fascia, if it's not hydrated, how can the muscles actually expand? How can things actually develop properly? The muscles generate osteoblasts, which reinforce bone. So the fascia and the muscles in this way, some would say, people, amazing, pioneers of this space would argue that the fascia holds up the bones, not the other way around, which is a really interesting concept. But moving on to step 3 of how the fascia is hydrated, and this is where it gets really interesting. So stay with me, up the energy. Let's get into it, okay? Step 3, we're going to go into sunlight. Okay, fundamental. I'm going to rattle through this exceptionally easily. Sunlight does 3 things. It increases nitric oxide uptake, which again improves circulation, improves blood flow, improves the fascia because it's a structure throughout the entire body. Secondly, and more interestingly, there are people like Mr. Pollock who have done very interesting research on how sunlight charges water within the body and it organizes the fascia within the body. And the most important component is the infrared light. So exposing your body to infrared light, so early morning sunlight, late evening sunlight, this is when infrared light's the highest. This is what charges the body, and it's completely different from an infrared light machine because it's natural. And again, this is the key concept to understand. You'll see many key overlinking concepts, which is everything was made perfectly. We were meant to have perfect fascia. There is no hacking, there is no biohacking, there is no, cheating here. This is about recorrecting. It's not about hacking. So if we're made perfectly, if we're designed perfectly, if we're not born through a C-section, if we're breastfed, if we don't suck our thumbs, if we don't have pacifiers, if we aren't forced to walk too early before we learn to crawl, if we don't chew on soft food, if we don't live in a stressed environment, if we aren't exposed to Wi-Fi, if we aren't exposed to EMF, if we aren't exposed to pollution, if we aren't exposed to polyester toxic clothes, stressful relationships, unnatural societal, concepts and these things, then the fascia would be properly hydrated, everything would be bliss. But you can imagine that in the modern world, it's impossible to avoid. And that doesn't mean that we need to stress and worry and make things worse. That means that we can recorrect, we can take action, we can work with the fascia to become the best versions of ourselves regardless of our circumstances. And the sun is a key foundational part of that. Early morning, evening sunlight. Obviously sunlight in general is foundational for health. It's the source of life. But people worry about UV. I think that infrared light is the most important. I don't think people should fear UV light, and I don't think they should fear aging in that way, because again, I think the most important version of aging isn't just about the skin. I think it's about elasticity of the fascia, but that's a topic for another video. Get as much infrared light from the sun as you can, from the source, not from other machines, not from hacking, from what you can. It's really interesting as well. There's indications where if you get enough sunlight in the summer, you actually store vitamin D for the winter, these kinds of things. So again, nature has it all taken care of. You don't need to worry about where you live or the environment. There's a reason that eating local food changes the way that your body processes it, because we're light beings and we're being constantly signaled by our environment. And so you don't need to worry about these kinds of things, which I previously did, especially when I was suffering through UK winters and these kinds of things. And I can imagine other people in other countries, the depths of the Swedish forests, places like this. And you can see in this woman's transformation on the screen how her wrinkles decreased, her skin complexion improved, and obviously this is coming from the exercises within the program, optimizing everything, but the sun then catalyzes this and allows her to become more youthful, even though previously people are taught to fear the sun and to think of it as the root cause of aging. Okay, so this is all making sense. It's all interlinking with the fascia, and the fascia is then supercharging the entire body, okay? And I want to go into this final point before I explain how the fascia interconnects with beauty, and I'll provide 2 more actionable steps at the very end, so stay tuned. You can't just skip to the end, because if you don't understand what I'm about to say right now, then you won't understand the value at the end. So listen to this, then watch the end. Maintain your attention span, maintain your patience. Stay with me. 4th one is diet. Diet's obviously fundamental, and people view it as the be-all, end-all. People view diet as absolutely everything, the thing that charges their body, the thing that will heal all of their diseases and illnesses, and I absolutely view it as a fundamental component and structure, but I view it as part of the fascia. So I view it as 1/4. If all of these components hydrate and structure the fascia, and the fascia basically is involved with every process within the body and allows us to connect the physical and mental, to be present and to look good and to feel good and to move well, the diet is 1/4 of a component. So people view diet as be-all, end-all. The only thing that we can control is what we put into our bodies, but it's not. It's a component, something that works hand in hand, and that's something that I've had to learn over the years after obsessing, trying many extreme things and constantly going back and forth. And so with that, I'm not going to provide a full dietary breakdown. Again, that's within the community, what I recommend, and I don't think it should be exceptionally rigid, but I do think that structured water from food is absolutely fundamental. So we can consume a completely overcooked piece of food, and you can imagine there's no more water bound to that food. And as a result, it doesn't hydrate our bodies in any way, shape or form. And so that creates loads of issues. You could argue that it's maybe slightly more important than other components, but I think sunlight, movement, breath, and diet, I don't think you can make that many logical arguments for it being 30% rather than 25% or 35%. It's a very hard thing to debate, but structural water from food, absolutely fundamental. I would also say that you can control the way and the environment in which you eat. If you eat in a low stress environment, if you sit on the floor while you eat, if you're around people that you love, these things will change the way that you digest and absorb food. And I do think there is a natural way to eating. Obviously, people have their disagreements. This is the part where I don't want to be controversial, create a barrier between people. I want to spread the mission I believe in so fully, which is health as looks and fascia, and I don't want people to get lost or divided along the way. So that's what I'll say about diet. It is obviously a massive component, structures the body, provides nutrients, which then fuels the body, allows the fascia to function very efficiently and nicely, to be organized, to be structured, to be this tense but loose and flowing substance, to be this beautiful thing that is involved with everything. And I think how you eat is just as important as what you eat. And yes, this is my interpretation. I do think there is a lot of nuance to it. I've been vegetarian, I've been animal-based, I've been loads of different things. I've settled on what works well for me and what I feel healthy with. And I do have very good functional blood work, and we do now have lots of, again, real transformations to back this up. And so I think it's very clear. I wouldn't have been able to have healthy, wide palate and teeth. I think if we don't chew hard food, then the teeth in the palate can't develop, the tongue can't rest against the roof of the mouth, and the structure becomes terribly worse. So food for thought, quite literally, but those are the 4 mechanisms through which fascia is hydrated. Now quickly, this is where it gets really important. How does this interlink with beauty and looks and the way we feel? Well, there's a lot of different interpretations of this. I'm going to do a lot more longer videos. If you like this kind of style, really do let me know in the comments, because it's a bit longer, it's a bit more difficult to record, but it's fun, it's flowing. I really enjoy being able to express myself in this way. So let me know if you like it. If not, then I can go back to the shorter, more concise, quick, locked-in videos. But final part I'd like to say is how I think this all interlinks. So obviously, posture shapes pretty much everything structurally, or the way the face develops. So all of these things, breathing influences your posture, movement influences your posture, diet not so much, but sunlight, we understand how it affects the fascia, and the fascia affects the posture. This structure, if your feet aren't straight, if your body isn't one system, if your neck doesn't support your head, how can it grow upwards and forwards? And equally, how can it have the elasticity for the skin to be plump? How can it have the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and these kind of aspects? So it all links to this. And when these habits are in place, when we chew, swallow, breathe properly, when our nervous system's relaxed, and when everything operates on this level, our fascia connects the physical and the mental. Our body's able to operate on the same frequency that we want our minds to, our nervous systems to. This allows us to be and look like the best versions of ourselves. And this pushes the depths of things. And for the people still listening, this is where I'll say it. Like, I think that people are too keen, people believe a lot in the idea of, let's say, manifesting external things within their lives. I think that's a pretty common concept. Like, even quantum physics has shown that there's underlying energy fields which shift the first particle, but there's no thing before the first particle. And so we're energetical beings, and these things, you can operate on a frequency to attract certain things, and that's a big topic now. But I think people are too quick to change their external circumstances and have their mind operate on a level of things that they desire and want, and have their mind operate on a feeling of what they can be and what they can become and what they can sense and feel, without understanding that we can shift our bodies internally. People believe that they can have some other person within their life say the right thing at the right time, or meet the right person at the right time, or this plane lands at the right time, or this happens, or this car drops off a lovely gift and you unwrap the gift and within it is a mouse trap, and you use the mouse trap to catch this mouse, but you don't want to kill the mouse, so you just catch it here, and you have a piece of cheese here, and then that cheese is a beautiful cheese, and that unlocks a new aroma of taste buds, and you realize your passion to become a chef. You can have these kind of things, but people are too slow to believe that they can shift their own bodies, which is what life comes from. So if you want to shift the life around you without being able to shift your internal body and physical body, which is the vessel from which life comes itself, then I feel like there's a massive juxtaposition here. It's like a massive misunderstanding in a beautiful novel. Equally, it's the same thing I go back to bring this all full circle. These little misunderstandings within the entire health and wellness space. There are so many contradictions, so many reasons that people can believe such extreme diets or such extreme protocols and see results on completely contradicting ideas. Why is it? Why is it that we can believe in something so much and see results even if the ideas themselves are contradicting, even if they provide different nutrients, even if they have these different things? Maybe it's belief that forms progress, and maybe it's belief that allows the nervous system to operate on a way that the body is able to then respond. But over time, the reason I think that these extreme things fail, and the reason that I think everyone ends up getting to a point of realization where they either fall out of love with what they do, or get out of shape again, or look worse, or lose their mind slightly, or these kinds of things, no matter what alley we go down, is because of the fascia itself. We can temporarily do something exceptionally extreme and see crazy results because maybe the fascia is hydrated enough, and so your mind believes these things so intently, you become so attached to them that the body is able to see immense results because of it. But over time, as the fascia becomes tighter and dehydrated, because it has these sensory receptors that connect to your nervous system itself, the fascia becomes tight and it disconnects your body from your own mind. So over time, if it isn't the right thing, if it doesn't work with nature, if it doesn't work with the inputs with which we are provided, the nervous system and the mind can't control the body, and the body doesn't operate on the way that the mind wants it to. So you're providing these instructions, but the body can't perform it because the structure in between that provides the communication is tight, it's dehydrated. And this is the really powerful thing. And I think that's, the way that I view these little indiscrepancies, these little misunderstandings. Everyone knows the mind controls the body. Everyone knows a mother, under extreme stress, they can lift a car because we only have access to 10% of our true strength, these kinds of things. Imagine the limitless bounds of what we are truly powerful of when our fascia is hydrated, when we move properly, and when the structure that no one's truly understood or talked about or utilized properly is utilized. It's boundless, it's endless, it's formless. And so this is the way that I think it views beauty. It shapes everything, it shapes posture, it shapes the way we hold ourselves. This structure within our face shapes the tension within it. If our tension is upwards and outwards, that changes the way we breathe, it changes the way I hold ourselves, it changes the way the tongue rests on the roof of the mouth. Our tongue can provide 600 grams of force, it takes less than 20 grams of force to move a tooth. So over time, of course, your tongue can shape and expand and form your palate. Of course, it can open up your breathing and further re-improve this cycle of the fascia being hydrated. And there's a lot more to this. I will eventually make more videos on how I believe that the tongue, for example, impacts the nervous system, because we're the only animals that speak a truly complex language, and we use our tongue to do that, and all of these interesting things. And we speak 16,000 words per day. The tongue obviously shapes our face. The way we speak shapes our face. Therefore, how do we learn the way we speak? Well, we adopt an accent adopted by other people. Very interesting. But it's all really interesting as a concept. The most important thing to do is to not get lost within it, to not fall into this rabbit hole, to use this as a practical reminder. In the meantime, you need to take action. If you really want to do something, you don't romanticize it, you don't fall in love with it, you don't run down rabbit holes, you don't learn everything you can, you take action, you learn through exploring your body. And that's the key to all of it. We work with the body first. You go inside, you release the trauma and emotion stored within your body. When you're stressed, your breath becomes super shallow. That changes your nervous system, and that's stored within the body. And you work with the body first, you open up the face, you restore natural beauty, you become healthy, you restore movement, you become the person you're always meant to be, and then everything else can follow. That's my belief, that's my perception. I think that's the key to everything in life. We use the fascia to nail every aspect, and the first and foremost part is we use it to restore the body. And as a final quote, as I provide two little more tad bits of information for the beautiful people that have rested and stayed along for this amount of time and kept listening to me speak and talk and shuffle along, remember, health is looks. And so with that, two quick things I'd recommend to everyone to implement, and I've dropped some gold dust, some nuggets along the way, and I've got crazy routines coming out in our private community this week, which are going to incorporate all of these exercises into this beautiful kind of routine, which is just going to completely break the way everyone perceives things. So if you really want to do things, again, I highly recommend checking out and joining the community. You'll get a personal accountability coach. The personal accountability coaches, by the way, either my sister, my mom, or my closest friends. So people that have had their own transformations, know the information inside out. You can message them, you can ask them questions, you'll have access to them, you have loads of live Q&A calls, there's unlimited resources, and it also forces you to actually do something. That's the most important thing of being in a community, not buying a course. It's having people around that are actually doing something, and if you're around people that do something, you will do it as well. Two actionable things I'd recommend to everyone is, firstly, if you've listened this long and you're sitting down, get out and move. Get out and move in the right ways, move with your thumbs first. So try out this cool exercise called thumb twisting, which I really believe in, which is this little light lymphatic and fascial movement where you're twisting your body, but you're following with your thumbs first. Check that out on the screen, highly recommend it, amazing exercise. There's a lot more variations you can try and do with it, but start with that and see how your body flows. Equally, again, I think the tongue is the key to this entire system. I'm gonna make lots more videos on how and the extent to which I believe this in, but I believe that the tongue is everything. So stretch your tongue and allow it to release some tension. You're gonna feel lighter, feel the impact it has on your knees, your hips, pain throughout the rest of your body. When you release the tongue, you release everything. You'll feel lighter, calmer, move better, look better, face firms up instantly. It doesn't take this long to do things. People think it takes years to shift their face. It doesn't take long to tighten the face, to shift the posture. And the fascia, again, people argue the fascia holds the bones. So does this mean that at any age you can shift your face? Well, we won't know now, we'll see in the future, but I believe so. And the second part is just stretch your tongue. Take a towel, stretch your tongue out, stretch it to the left, the right, the middle, play around with it, feel the tension being released, hold it, breathe through these points and play around like that. But that was the lecture on fascia. Again, here are some more transformations from brilliant clients and amazing people within the community and within our one-to-one coaching program to back this all up. Loads more to come. I want you to be the next transformation. Take action, go for it, crush it. You're all amazing people. Thank you so much for supporting. I'd love to see you inside the community. Even if I don't, I'll see you around. Many more videos to come. Crush it, flow it, fascia it, and have an amazing day. I'll see you inside the community. Peace out. Okay, future Oscars here. I feel like I missed out and skipped a step with the explanations of connecting fascia to beauty, so I want to explain it a tiny bit more. The fascia is seemingly arranged in these fascial lines, so these slings that connect throughout the entire body, and that's a really interesting way of viewing it again. But you have loads of key different lines. There are 12 key meridian lines, the most important of which I believe is the deep frontal line. That will connect the feet to the pelvis, to the rib cage, all the way up to this hyoid bone, and the hyoid bone is supported by the tongue. This is the only bone in your body not connected to any other. So as people develop double chins and sagging skin over time, that is because this bone is collapsing, because the muscles and fascia around the face are falling. And why does this fall? Because the fascial line itself is being stretched and tightened, because it's pulling down, and the entire chain is therefore collapsing. So you understand that it connects throughout the entire body in these different lines. There's things like the superficial back line, and understanding that up to 80% of the power within our bodies comes from the back chain. And people now are front chain dominant because of sitting on chairs, because of walking improperly, and bad habits. And so these lines connect our face all the way down to our feet, and they form movement in that way. And we also have a system called the SMAS, the superficial musculoaponeurotic system, which you absolutely don't need to know the name of, but it's a system pretty much like fascia in the face that stores tension in different ways. And so if we have upward tension, then you can imagine you can go like this right now. You can breathe better when you have this, but other people have downward tension, this downward pull over time from the fascia collapsing throughout the rest of the body and then pulling down on the face. And this shifts things negatively as well. So we have this upward tension that we need to create within the face itself. And we need to understand that because the face is connected to the feet, sometimes for many people, if you want to fix your body posture issues, it's through the face itself because it's connected in these lines. So with this system in the face, this SMAS, it's basically arranged in tension patterns. So the tongue holds the system up, but it's impossible to fully get the tongue on the roof of the mouth. It's like the top of the pyramid. The tongue on the roof of the mouth, I don't believe I have it. I think it's an eternal struggle, an eternal chase to get to that point because everything essentially leads into it. We have tongue ties, we have improper posture, we have muscles in the face, we have these fascial chains that connect to the tongue. And so one of these things will always be at 99% instead of 100. And so the tongue being on the roof of the mouth, literally view it as like this North Star that you'll never quite catch, but you're always in pursuit of, and so it makes the journey enjoyable. That's the way to view it. The tongue being on the roof of the mouth is the North Star, but we'll always need a bit of support to adjust it because in the modern world, again, like as I said before, everything's imperfect, which makes it beautifully perfect. But that means that long term, if we have hydrated fascia, if we move in the right way, if we chew, swallow, breathe properly, 80% of this stuff gets taken care of passively. We become healthier, better looking, and the best versions of ourselves. But equally, we'll always be exposed to something negative. We'll always have EMF, we'll always have pollution. We'll always be forced to be stressed or change the way we breathe and these things. And stress results in shallow breathing, etc. And so this is where we have these temporary recorrective things that are always integrated. So with the face, we have zygotape, which creates a passive pull on the face, which shifts tension passively without forcing it, and therefore provides a sensory small input to the fascia to shift the tension, to improve posture, so you can allow the tongue to be on the roof of the mouth, so you can sleep better, so you can breathe better. Equally, you have things like a ball to roll out your body always to release adhesions, which are these like kind of knots that form in the fascia, which are always going to be created no matter how perfect things are, because again, we'll always have these unnatural or slightly, natural modern things happen to us, which is the evolution of the world, which is brilliant and beautiful, but still needs to be tackled and taken care of because we always want to feel the best and operate at our best. And so we can always release the fascia in our body. We can use a gua sha and things to break up fascial tension within the SMAS. We can use devices like the one you see on the screen where I'm using it to activate things like the digastric muscle, which I think is really hard to activate through normal face exercises because again, our posture is so imperfect that it basically never gets properly activated. So we can use a device for things like that. We can use a futon because maybe we can't perfectly sleep on the floor. All of these ideas and things that can be created, all of these optimizations, these products that can be used and useful, they all serve a purpose, but the key is allowing the body to recorrect rather than forcing it. So if we view, for example, like a brace for your back that forces your back into a certain position, that's not natural because it's shifting posture, not passively, but actively. And therefore it's not working with the fascia, it's working against it. If you compare that to zygotape, which provides a passive pull on the face, you're providing sensory input for the body to then take a better path. If you use a brace or you wear the orthopedic soles within your shoes, they force your foot into that position rather than actually tackling the plantar fascia within the feet. Okay, so view it and see it in this way. Everything was made perfectly, we're designed perfectly. The modern world has natural imperfections. This is something to be embraced, which means we always slightly recorrect. But long term, if we're chewing, swallowing, breathing properly, if we're moving properly, then that's 80% of it. And that's the point that everyone should get to. That's the point where I think everyone needs to spend a few months of their life, no matter how old you are, how busy you are, what you're building, what's going on, what you want to achieve. If new people are being born around you, whatever it is, you need to spend a few months optimizing this because it better impacts everyone around you. It allows you to live a more fulfilling life. It leads to an enrichment in every project and undertaking you fulfill. It allows you to be a better citizen of the world and to positively impact the entirety of humanity. And the more people that actually operate on this wavelength and frequency, this literally begins to shift the frequency of the world around us. That's the really cool part of it all. So that's the key to view it as. That's the intersection between beauty, these lines that connect to the face. And I think that's also the reason where when we do things like thumb pulling, which I talk about a lot to, release the fascia on the palate itself, because the tongue doesn't rest on the palate, meaning that when it doesn't rest there, fascial tension gets created on the palate itself. We use it to release the fascia. We're also decompressing things like the sutures. But this can only really work if the fascia is hydrated throughout the system, because the scalp and the back of the head connects through the superficial back line all the way down to the feet. So there we can see these connections. There we can understand all of it. And people view the feet as the base of all of it. And I've said this many times before that the feet is the base. I honestly think it's the face and the tongue and the head that's the base, because the palate is the direct gateway to the breath, and the breath is the base of everything. And so actually, maybe if we work at the palate first, maybe that's like ground zero, and then step one is the feet. Okay, we understand it in that pattern. That's just my inclination, that's my pattern, that's what's working for everyone. That's the way that I think we're going to change the world altogether, crush things. Brilliant talk, everyone. I hope this was useful, I hope this was informative. Let me know if you'd like me to do more videos like this. Let me know if you'd like me to get my lovely mother and my lovely sister involved, many other people, maybe even the whole community. Maybe we'll do a call with all 7,000 whatever people in the community. Maybe we'll do all 500,000 of you on YouTube and Let's all get involved. Let's all be a community. Let's all crush it together. Let's all change the world. Let's all make an impact. Bosh, bosh, bliss, bliss, perfecto. I love the world.